everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a quick reaction to Monday Night Football, and specifically I want to talk Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason and the importance in fantasy football of handcuffing, because tonight, a very important illustration of the need to handcuff. And if you were a Christian McCaffrey manager and you did not handcuff Jordan Mason, then you ran out of options of what you could do Monday night, and it might have really hurt you and might have cost you the week. So I want to talk about that tonight because I think it's important to really focus on strategy like this in terms of your roster management for your elite running backs. And this was a prime example tonight of how if you didn't have Jordan Mason in handcuffs, he really hurt you. And if you were one of those managers that did pick up Jordan Mason and you don't have Christian McCaffrey, now you have a really interesting tool you can use moving forward. So handcuffing, if you are new to fantasy football and you're not familiar with that, is getting an elite backup running back to your elite running back. So you draft your running back like Christian McCaffrey, then you want to make sure that you roster Jordan Mason. For a while, it was always Elijah Mitchell, but Elijah Mitchell went on IR during the preseason. So a lot of people did not draft Jordan Mason because he was picked so low in his ADP that you really had to have been paying attention to the news at a 49ers camp to know that Mason was going to be in line for the number 2 duties. Christian McCaffrey dealing with his injury, nobody really suspected that he wasn't going to play. It was kind of one of those things that came out in the last minute, about 2 hours before the game. Probably even less than that. I think it was like an hour and a half. And if you were a Christian McCaffrey manager and you didn't have Jordan Mason or you didn't have any other pivot options, then you were kind of screwed. There wasn't really anything that you could do to replace your best player in fantasy football, and might have cost you the week. So the key point from tonight, and I'm going to talk about this in relation to one of my videos earlier and the importance of handcuffing, is that you want to make sure that you have your elite backup in case anything happens. Because in football, there's so many injuries, especially to your elite running backs. You want to make sure that you have the best handcuff options available to them. And you look at how Jordan Mason did today when he went in there. There was a lot of question marks of how he would do. Would this be a timeshare? Because they drafted Isaac Guerrero, who's a running back who people had some high opinions on. They also have Juszczyk, who's been around the system for a while. Debo has taken reps at running back too. So they have a lot of different options that they could theoretically go to. But ultimately, the one that really was incredible today was Jordan Mason. And you look at the breakdown, 28 attempts, 147 and 1. That's like a Christian McCaffrey performance right there, man. That's about as good as you can get from a backup that was very lightly drafted. Additionally, Jordan Mason, he didn't do much through the air. He had 1 target, 1 reception, 5 yards. But tonight was a night where they didn't need to do that because they were kind of blowing the brakes off the Jets for most of this game. And yeah, if you happen to have Jordan Mason and were able to plug him in tonight for Christian McCaffrey, man, you would have really you must be really happy about your situation. If you do not have Christian McCaffrey, you've got a lot of question marks moving forward. How long is he going to be out? But the interesting tool with this as well is that if you have Jordan Mason and you know, given this performance tonight, what he can do, this gives you an incredible trade tool of what you can offer to the Christian McCaffrey manager. You can make a strong argument for Christian McCaffrey managers. They're panicking right now. They don't have the ability to have their best player. They also don't have his backup. So how long is this absence going to last for? You could command a pretty good offer for one of the other guys on that guy's roster, maybe a flex player that you could start and turn, because as long as it's unknown how long Christian McCaffrey is going to be out for, then Jordan Mason has proven tonight that he can immediately be an elite fantasy running back. And this Jets defense was supposed to be good. So it's kind of crazy to think about what this could even mean for him moving forward in situations where they have to pass. They have to get him more involved. They're playing worse defenses. This is a really good situation for Jordan Mason moving forward. Kudos to you if you happen to get him on your team. The other point that I want to talk about earlier, my kicker video that I released earlier, and thank you to all those who comment. I really do appreciate Your comments in the video means a lot to me. There seemed to be a little bit of confusion, and maybe I didn't really clarify it very well in my video about what zero kicker means in actuality. And to clarify, it does not mean going without a kicker for the entire week. I did mention in the video that there are situations where I would consider not rostering a kicker for week one for the upside of having one of these flex players. And I think tonight was a good example of why you would rather have the upside of the flex players than some kickers that may or may not give you a good performance. Granted, I do understand that there were several kickers that had at least 20 points. Chris Boswell, Groupie, Brandon Aubrey, those guys were awesome. And if you did get one of them, you were really happy with your performance this week, likely because it probably made the difference in you winning and losing. But I'm telling you that kickers do not consistently put up 20 points a game. There's going to be games where they have 20 points and other games where they have 4. Then they're going to have like 7. Then they might have 10 again, but then they're going to drop down and have 1. That stuff happens all the time. So what I'm saying is that, and I'm going to use one of my specific leagues as an example, because in this situation, I was playing someone who had Christian McCaffrey, and he did not have Jordan Mason. So I picked up Jordan Mason and held him just to kind of see what happens. And I knew that by doing that, I wasn't going to have my kicker. So it was a risk, and thankfully it worked out that I was still able to get the victory without the kicker. But the point is that I would have, even if I had lost that week, I would rather have Jordan Mason moving forward, given this injury situation with Christian McCaffrey, than having a kicker that I may or may not roster the following week, depending on what the next week's matchup is. Because I chose to use that spot to get Christian McCaffrey's handcuff, seeing what he did here on Monday night. I would rather take that 100 times out of 100 if given the situation between week one winning and losing, or having Jordan Mason now potentially for an extended period of time. So that's the point that I was trying to make with the zero kicker strategy. And I think that tonight's game and the situation with Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason really illustrates that well. So what do you do in future situations with your handcuffs? So if you have any of these top 10 drafted running backs, you want to make sure that you have their backup, because you never know with injury situations what's going to happen. And if you have somebody like a Christian McCaffrey, a Breece Hall, a Saquon Barkley, you want to make sure that you have their backup in case of any bad situation where you suddenly lose that player, because running backs, sadly, are the most injured position in fantasy football. Second to maybe quarterbacks, but I think in general, running backs are the ones that get injured the most historically. We had a lot of QB injuries last year, but kind of an anomaly. So if you have Breece Hall, you want to make sure that you get Braylon Allen on your team, because if Hall goes down, then all of a sudden all those reps are going to go to Allen, who's a promising young rookie. If you have a guy like Travis Etienne, you want to make sure you have Tank Bigsby, just simply from what you saw on Sunday night. Bigsby was very productive. If you have Rachaad White, you want to make sure you have Bucky Irving. If you have, we keep going on down the list here. If you have Jonathan Taylor, you may want to make sure that you have his backup as well. All these elite running backs that I'm talking about, you want to make sure that you have a handcuff option for them available. And a lot of them are very lightly rostered too. So to me, like if you have a fringe running back that you're probably not going to start and you have a lot of good options anyway, I would feel more comfortable making sure you have one of these handcuffs available. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I would definitely make sure that you're offering up some trades. Don't give up too much. I'm not saying to sell somebody that you would consider starting weekly to make sure you have a backup to Breece Hall or anything like that. But I'm just saying that make sure that it's a very valuable tool for you. And you just look at how many running backs come onto the scene every year because of injuries. And tonight's a good example, because if Christian McCaffrey's out for an extended period of time, those that were paying attention and handcuffed Jordan Mason with him, very good situation. If you did not do that, then you're going to be sweating bullets for the next couple weeks to see what happens with Christian McCaffrey, your #1 overall pick. All right, well, that's all I got for this video. Thank you for your support for the channel, and we'll see you guys next time.